Hi, so I'm Emmanuel Kyeremeh. I'm also an assistant professor here in the Geography and Environmental Science Department. Originally from Ghana, lived the most part of my life in Ghana, came to Canada to pursue graduate studies, and I've been here ever since.
Dr. Julian Hasford, Associate Professor in the School of Child and Youth Care and Interim Director of the School of Child and Youth Care as well. Originally from Ghana, West Africa, but raised here in Toronto, Canada. So my research, it's about being able to understand or explore how land can contribute to the healing, the maturation of people, and particularly Black young people and Black communities. That kind of engagement with land is through food growing, through agriculture, right? And particularly like crops and through our relationships with plants. That's where I have the most experience and the most interest. When we are on the land, when we're growing food together, how that can be a place, for learning, for therapeutic healing, but also for connecting with our deeper and higher selves, right? And for building community.
So I do see myself as a social geographer. My research, I think I'll broadly define it as falling under three broad themes. So well-being, integration, and networks. Well-being, what are the things that contributes to making us who we are, as Julian was rightly saying, right? So what defines us as a people? And food is one of the very important things. So increasingly, I have an interest in trying to understand food insecurity as it pertains to racialized and then vulnerable populations, especially Blacks and then immigrant communities in Toronto. And the idea is we want to be able to understand some of the structural barriers as well as the lived experiences that shape the access to affordable, nutritious, and then culturally appropriate food. And the goal is that once we do that, we'll be able to examine and understand some of the challenges there and then be able to come up with policies that will help to be able to address these broader and systemic issues that affect people when it comes to food.
And thinking about food from a cultural lens and how that connects to our spirituality, our faith, the transcendent, those deeper values is what excites me, right? It's a way for young people in particular to get connected with those deeper values, get connected with people who would share those values, so you have a community that can nurture it. Kind of the beauty of Black culture and Black food and Black joy and like our strengths, our traditions and so on. And so I think food is a really powerful, mechanism to broaden the identities that our young people are experiencing. In Africa, folks, maize is a very common crop.
It's a staple food, right? So
yes.
Almost every community or ethnic group actually does utilize some aspect of corn or maize in their diet. So it transcends a lot of countries and a lot of different ethnic groups. Good to know that beyond just what we do in terms of the discussions and the talking, we actually can see some practical elements, and this is a practical demonstration of what we want to be doing, not just only talking about policies, but then in terms of Black food sovereignty, access, and then access to land for individuals who are racialized to be able to grow their own food is one of the things we want to see being done, and this is just a typical example. This is a community action participatory research, so I get a chance to be able to work with the partners to be able to, collaboratively come up with ideas and solutions that will help to be able to address some of these broader systemic issues that have been facing these racialized populations for a very long time. So that is one of the things that gives me joy, that it is not just about sitting in my own space and then, propounding theories or ideas, but then I get to work with the people. I get to understand the lived experiences of those that are facing the issue and be able to put that into certain actionable items that we believe can help to be able to address these challenges. And so that is what gives me that joy.
What I think stands out to me around the lived experience, in addition to what Emmanuel said, is around the extent of anti-Black racism that Black communities face within the food banks in particular. We know it's a bit of a sensitive subject because the food banks do a lot of great work, right? And we know that folks are doing this from a sincere place, but in what is already a very vulnerable position to go and show up at a food bank space, and then to experience these microaggressions that folks are talking about, it just adds to that sense of indignity. And for some, it's even a barrier, right? And we've heard about some cultures or some families and cultures who would simply rather not go. That was expressed. And so that's one kind of learning around the lived experience of food insecurity. You know, the other area of work, as I said, is around youth and engaging young people in food growing and agriculture.
So the next steps, we would want to reach out to some of the community health partners that we are working with, try to get a sense in terms of, like I mentioned, the collaborations that exist between them, targeting the key players in terms of the food space, and in order to have a conversation around how best we can address some of the challenges, or how best we can address some of the concerns that have been raised through the work.
In order to advocate for more resources, you know, we need some evidence, and both kind of the qualitative, the quantitative is going to be a part of that. And so consolidating what we've been learning and gathering through this project, and then doing the knowledge mobilization, etc., will be a really, I think, important piece. And I think a goal of that, or at least one of the medium-term objectives of that, will be to help build capacity, right? Through the organizations that are leading it, like the African Food Basket, the Black Health Alliance, others within this Black Food Sovereignty Network in this space, to collaborate together, right? I think in terms of the youth-led work that I'm doing, you know, we have our space. The young people are starting to build their own internal capacity, and we'd like to look at scaling up that work.
In our own small way, I think this is our contribution that we think we can do to be able to help address some of these concerns. So I'm looking forward to, you know, doing more research in this area, trying to understand food need, food systems, you know, looking at the lived experiences, and then coming up with recommendations that we think can help address some of these challenges. And so that in the next 4 to 5 years, especially, even as some of our participants have told us, we live in a developed world, right? We live in a developed country, so if for anything at all, it shouldn't be as magnified as it is. But what we are seeing is, on the contrary, seeing that there is a lot of challenges pertaining to food, and so if there are measures that can be put in place to address food insecurity, to go a long way to help people that aspire to come into Canada, and for those that are already here.
Excellent.
Amen. This was great, and we thank you for the opportunity, and really excited about the work that the center is doing.